I don't understand why they should talk about Brexit. We won, and that's it. And Michael Heseltine lost, and he's still bitter about it.
Do you remember the original Brexit referendum, the original EU referendum that we won, the Remainers won, but you carried on talking about it for the next 30, 40 years until it changed. Bit rich to say that the other side can't, isn't it?
Because the winners don't talk. You lost, Heseltine lost, they talk about it.
No, you've just brilliantly ignored my question, Olga. Why didn't you shut up about Brexit when we had the first referendum? Why did people carry on saying, we don't like this because we've got to live in a free country and we challenge it? Now we know what Brexit is, which is a load of lies that's costing us a fortune. Why shouldn't we discuss it?
Cost whom a fortune? I think it's not cost me a fortune. I benefited a lot.
Oh, well, as long as you've benefited, who cares if every family in the country's £1,000 worse off?
No one benefited for it. No, sorry. No one vested off. It's all propaganda that was given us before Brexit.
It's all the Office of Budget Responsibility is a propagandist, pro-EU propagandist organisation. Olga, listen to yourself. You sound like Donald Trump. Listen to yourself. Honestly.
We sort of didn't discuss a no-deal Brexit until 2018.
True.
So all those conversations should have happened beforehand.
True.
And then you've got the premier negotiators in the UK paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a year.
Can we just say, when you say premier negotiators, we're using little fingers in the air as inverted commas? I think we need to say that because Lord Frost was one of them, wasn't he? And I can't allow the word premier negotiator to go unchallenged in relation to Lord Frost. Because I wouldn't have him negotiate buying a bag of crisps for me, bacon-flavoured or non-bacon-flavoured. He seems like an ideologue obsessive rather than a great negotiator. But what do I know?
But this is the thing. They just cancelled each other out, and it seemed like people had guaranteed themselves a pension, rode off into the sunset and said, whatever you want, you're not getting.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep charging you and charging you and charging. It was almost like one of those plumbers you couldn't get rid of. I think Brexit's done. I think, we've just got to let it settle. If we get back into the EU, we get
the thing on that point, John, and you're not alone in saying just leave it be. But my point is, although it didn't really happen very loudly in the 70s, by the late 80s into the early 90s, whole swathes of politicians did nothing but talk about why they hated the EU, despite the fact we'd had a referendum that was overwhelmingly in support of joining Project Europe. And they never shut up. So why should those who lost at the last referendum shut up now? It doesn't make any sense. If they'd shut up, we'd probably not be having this discussion because we wouldn't have had a referendum. But because they didn't shut up, it's a bit rich to expect everybody on the losing side to button it because they lost by 1.8%, isn't it?
Yeah, no, there is a balanced argument to be made. But I just think the whole thing, looking back retrospectively, going through Brexit, we got sold a pup. And all the people that seem to be telling us one thing, they did the opposite. We had the opposite results. It wasn't great for Britain. The £350 million a week is just nowhere.
And now no one talks about it, John. Is that not weird?
Yeah, well, but you don't.
It was the only subject for discussion at the last election 5 years ago, and now there's not a word. I mean, that's weird.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you got Boris jumping on that, get Brexit done. And that was at a huge cost, wasn't it? I mean, he just sort of trundled through on the back of that. And it just made a complete... And you're just saying, let's just not go there. It's almost like one of those things where you're like, no matter how they approach it, it just turns to mush.
But Heseltine says, and I don't disbelieve him, that you can't discuss almost anything in the UK today, any problem area, without looking at it in the wider context of our decision to leave the European Union, from the quality of our water to moving around. And if no one talks about it, then we're never going to be able to address those issues. John, lovely talking to you. Your thoughts on the absence of Brexit from this election?
Well, I mean, Stamer doesn't really want to talk about it because he doesn't want to alienate any of this Red Wall brigade. But it is dishonest not seeing that the damage it's done in the run-up to the election. I mean, I voted Labour last time, and I mean, I'm seriously considering not voting for them this time because of the lack of chat about it.
So this is really interesting because this is exactly the argument, isn't it? Is that Labour feels they can't talk about it because they will lose precious votes in precious previous red wall seats. And here we are talking to a gentleman who may not vote Labour from Sunderland, so a red wallish area. And you're threatening not to vote Labour because they won't talk about it. And I wonder how many polls there are out there, sir. I really do.
I think there'll be quite a few.
Fascinating. Do you think it's possible for Keir Starmer to talk about Brexit a bit, for want of a better question? That I'm not saying he has it first and foremost, but do you feel he feels completely hamstrung? He can't even mention the word without it becoming a problem. Could he talk about it a bit with regards to, I don't know, water quality, for example?
Well, I mean, he could be putting the message out there that it's damaged the economy, as well as Liz Truss, of course. I mean, it's had a detrimental effect.
Yeah, I think that would be okay. Do you think Brexit will return as a political issue down the line 5 years' time if the next government lasts 5 years, that it will become a campaigning issue again?
Well, I think in this next Parliament, I think Stamer will try to get a closer relationship with the EU, but the scenario is we're either in or we're either out. We cannot cherry pick, as it was pointed out before the referendum. But I think in the next the Parliament after this one, I think Brexit will become an issue again, because I think as time progresses, people, the ordinary Joe in the street, will realise how it's affected them. Because, I mean, for example, I'm going on holiday in October. And my partner, and we've had to renew our passports, even though they were still valid due to Brexit, because we wouldn't be able to use them.
I'm seeing a lot of people messaging saying that Keir Starmer's working quietly with regards to the EU, that he's, on a hearts and minds mission, that it's a soft conversations with Europe. Maybe I'm missing a trick here, Paul, and Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak have taken the view that the electorate, you and I, are exhausted with Brexit, sick of hearing about Brexit, and that we should be thankful that for one election and possibly one election only, we're not going to hear the B word at all.
Well, listen, as I've said, I don't think there'll be much talk about it in this next Parliament. To be honest with you, if the Conservatives come out, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did in a future Parliament and had another referendum to rejoin. I've never voted for the Tories, but I may consider voting for the Tories to rejoin the EU.
I hope someone tells Rishi Sunak that. Paul, pleasure talking to you there up in Sunderland.